Hi, you're listening to The Comedian's Tea Party with Deaves. Fair warning, this podcast may contain adult content. It may not. I don't know. I never really have a plan. So let's listen on and find out. Hello, and welcome back to The Comedian's Tea Party with Deaves. It's been a while, so I really appreciate you coming back to listen to more. People have been consistently asking me where the podcast's been and if it's coming back. And basically, it's a bit of a long story. It will come up in a later episode. Like, I'm recording with Legge soon, and he's going through a similar thing, so I assume that conversation will come up. But as you know, if you listen to the older episodes, I had a baby last year, so that has been very time consuming. And long story short, split up with my wife. So, that's been time consuming as well. Been sort of moving out and all sorts. And here we are. I'm now able to record more episodes and do some more things. I say record more episodes. The first two that are coming out, this one, as you'll know through the conversation as it goes on, this one was recorded about a year ago, maybe slightly less. Long story short, the baby hadn't been born yet, because we were talking in it about my ex being pregnant. So yeah, the baby hadn't been born yet, and I was still married. And then I've got another episode recorded with Matthew Crosby, where the baby had been born, but I was still married. So now the next episode that I record, the baby will be born. And, well, I'm still married, but not for long. So, yeah, that's where I've been. That's where all the time's gone. So, thanks for coming back. I need this. No, it's I'm good. I'm doing very well. But I'm glad to have you back and listening to this episode 53 with a good friend of mine. He's an author. He's an improviser. He is. He's started. He's done a few stand-up gigs. He's getting into it, and he's good. So go and check him out whenever you can. Also read his books, which he will talk about further in the podcast. And he's my good friend Paul Schiernecker. Now, Schiernecker. Obviously, you can see that written down in the podcast title. And it's, I'll put the social links up and all sorts anyway, so I'll do that bit for you. But towards the end of the podcast, he offered to write a rap explaining his surname, how to spell it. And I had forgotten about that until I until I was editing the podcast yesterday. And then I asked him if he'd remembered that he was going to do the rap. Obviously, he hadn't done it. He wrote it. He's done it. He's recorded it. I'm going to put it at the end of the episode. So that is absolutely something to look forward to. It is brilliant. In a couple of weeks, possibly, I'll put it out as another clip, because it's great. But that's well worth listening to. So yeah, I mean, to speak of changes, obviously, since I was still married and baby hadn't been born yet, and through the episode, Paul was also talking about his girlfriend, who he'd forgotten to bring to the podcast record. They're not together anymore either. He also mentions I mentioned him being vegan. He talks about oat milk. He's not vegan anymore. Maybe he'll go back to it, I don't know. But so yeah, the baby's been born. Both relationships are over. He's in the new one. He's not vegan now. We both changed jobs. I'm now editing videos for a living. And, well, most of my living. I'm also doing quite all right in stand-up, which is lovely. Speaking of, I'm doing a sort of a mini tour of Cyclops, which is the show that I was working on before. It's all done. It's good. It's a good show. And I'm going to be doing a little tour of it. So you can find tickets for that. The best place you can go is just go to my Linktree. Go to linktr.ee/Deaves, and you will find links to the show's there. So I'm doing a little tour of it. And then, a little bit later in the year, this isn't booked yet, but it is confirmed, if that makes sense, I'm recording it. I'm going to record it for the internet, so you can watch that from wherever you are, which is wonderful. If there's anywhere that you want me to come and do the show, get in touch, because I will travel. If you can, if it's an area where I can get minimum 20 people. I just need to cover my costs of getting there, really. Ideally, I'd make some money because that is how I earn my living. But regardless, I'm just happy to do the show, especially if it's not too far. But if it is far, then I do need to make money. So unless you want to pay the full fee, find some friends. Oh, I also talk about Smuggler's Brew being my favourite tea at the end, which it still is. I still love it because, I love the connection to Cornwall. But that same company I've now discovered make a tea. I say it's the same company. They're technically called like Essex Tea and Coffee now. Not now. They've got subsidiaries. I don't know who the original is. I suspect it may be Smuggler's Brew. I'm not sure. But they make Saxon Brew, which is Essex tea designed to work with our water, which, let me tell you, is wonderful. Big fan. And so we start off in this episode mid-sound check. I've left it in because it's really funny. It made me laugh a lot. So I may even put that out as the snippet. We'll see. I hope this episode will translate well. All I know is when we were recording it, we had so much fun. It was so funny. We were just laughing the whole way through and even editing it back. The best thing about that is I didn't remember everything that we were talking about, but listening back, I couldn't stop laughing the whole way through. It's great. So I hope you enjoy it as well, as much as I did listening back. I don't know if that's narcissistic. I don't care. It's very funny. So yeah, it's a really funny episode. We discuss all sorts of things, from how technology can lead to existential crises and how koalas would be the perfect criminals, through to how his brother might well be a psychopath. Listen on. It's very funny. I'll see you at the end. Thanks so much for listening. I think that's recording. You say words? Not words. Famously from Scatman.
What? In
the song
what
where
way?
he doesn't say any words.
I think if you were to look up the lyrics of Scatman, it might have those noises. So who's to say? Oh, they're not in the dictionary.
Yeah, just because they're written down doesn't mean they're words.
Ah, yeah.
Like I could write down any combination of letters, and that wouldn't necessarily make it a word, would it?
No, you sound like my agent.
Lovely stuff.
Lovely stuff.
Oh, how's that going? The book.
Yeah, it's going. I'm on version 6.
Yeah.
A bit at the moment. So he called me a week and a half ago. I can't remember if I've spoken to you about it. And he was cruel to be kind about it. I'll be positive about it.
Yeah.
Because it is a positive thing.
Yeah, that's great.
Ultimately, it's where we all want to be, right?
Yeah, you're writing a book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got an idea for a book. We've apparently, they say we've all got a book in us. Not all of us have eaten one.
No.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Why did I imagine an X-ray of someone's
just like with a Bible?
Yeah.
It is a Bible though, in the image, isn't it? In your head.
Mine's the Little Book of Calm.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
From Black Books.
Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, I always tell people that because I've become an advocate for everyone writing and everyone talking about their mental health. They're like my two things. And
I mean, one of those I think is important.
Yeah, but mental health is important as well.
Right, that's a fair point.
Yeah. And as such, when people say, "Oh, I wish I could find the time to write," I'm like, "You can." The only difference between me is that I'll ignore people for weeks at a time to do the thing. It's the only difference.
Yeah, really. You just got to accept that you don't talk to people anymore.
Yeah, someone, I can't remember who it was. Like a famous writer said, their writing advice was sit in the chair for like 2 hours a day. They'd just sit in the chair whether they were writing or not. Maybe I'll Google that.
Which chair?
Their writing chair. Not the electric one.
I was thinking like toilet.
That's the throne.
Yeah, porcelain throne, of course.
Sit on the throne.
Are we Googling who said that?
Yeah. Sit in the chair, meaning?
We all know what it means.
Oh, make themselves comfortable. That's not the quote I'm thinking of.
No.
Oh, it's one of those things where it's very difficult to find someone specifically. It's definitely attributed to someone. Sure. Famously. It's like some people feel the rain, others just get wet. You know, the way that's attributed to Bob Dylan, Bob Marley, Socrates. And you're like, someone might have said it at some point originally, but it's hard to tie down.
Who was the drunk Irishman? Oscar Wilde. He probably said it.
He said so many good things.
So many things.
Really good.
We're all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars.
Yeah.
Lovely.
He was into like sound bites before people. That's basically what quotes are. Now we'd just call it a sound bite, right?
Yeah, probably didn't call it that then because recording equipment was
rudimentary.
Scant.
Yeah. Julia Fox is probably a modern day Oscar Wilde, I'd say.
Who's Julia Fox?
She dated one of the Safdie brothers, Benny Safdie, I think.
Okay. And who are the Safdie brothers?
The Safdie brothers directed Uncut Gems.
I don't know what that is.
So they made a film called
Am I incredibly uncultured, or are you being very pretentious?
It's a mixture. I feel like most people know Uncut Gems is the Adam Sandler film that came out like 2 years ago that had a lot of Oscar buzz. He should have won. If he didn't win, I don't know. He won like the Independent Spirit Award for it.
Right.
But it's a very... You'd love it because it's very anxiety-ridden as a film.
Yeah.
And before that, they made Good Time with...
Paul knows me personally, by the way.
They made Good Time with Robert Pattinson, and that's similar, where you're watching it and it feels like a panic attack. You honestly, dig in.
Yes, that's great.
Dig in. So Julia Fox was interviewed recently, and she described herself as being... I'm sure it's Benny Safdie's muse when he wrote Uncut Gems, but the way that she said it then became a meme.
I see.
Because she's got a New York, New Jersey type accent.
Yeah.
And she says, well, I was Benny Safdie's muse when he wrote Uncut Gems. And that became that became meme worthy.
Lovely stuff.
So she's a modern Oscar Wilde is what I'm saying.
I might try and find that soundbite and then play it as you say it, get it to...
I mean, I was Josh Safdie's muse when he wrote Uncut Gems.
Right. It would match up perfectly, I'm sure, because I'm very
I've got
internet
some...
savvy.
Do you want to use...
I will, because they're there,
Exposers.
Oh, my God.
Named by Stuart Goldsmith.
That's beautiful.
On the live 10th episode.
Look at that action.
Because they're like spoons, but tweezers.
What was it? Speezers?
Spoozers, I believe.
Spoozers is better than Speezers.
Yeah.
I respect
Stuart. Don't put it onto that tea bag, because that is pregnancy tea.
Yeah, she offered me the pregnancy tea, and I was very tempted.
Yeah, but you don't want a soft cervix at this point in your life.
No, I worry that if my cervix was any softer, it would just
slides straight out.
It'd crumble like feta.
Yeah. Surely that would be harder.
Well, feta crumbles. It's a soft.
Yeah, but if it's right, because it's so soft.
You don't want bones that are like
I don't generally attribute things that are soft as things that will crumble. I suppose soft rock would crumble, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. Fair enough.
I don't want a frail old cervix.
No. I want a soft, young, hip cervix.
Yeah. A hip cervix.
A hip cervix. I think that's where cervices are. I'm assuming that is the pluralism.
Yeah. Well, as I was
pluralism,
explaining,
is that a word?
Pluralism.
It sounds like a word.
It does sound like a word.
I said it really confidently.
Yeah, to pluralise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pluralism.
Yeah.
A singular pluralism. You know, well, it'd be the result of a pluralisation.
Yes.
Pluralism, or just plural.
Yeah,
I think that might be the word.
Yeah,
that might be the word. And you're a writer.
Mm-hmm. A lot of that comes down to writing a sentence and then querying every word within that sentence.
Yeah, well, that's the beauty of computers.
Yeah, the red squiggly line tells you that your surname is incorrect.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I mean, I imagine you get that more than I do.
Yeah. Is Deaves recognised?
No. It's not.
You ever had an existential crisis because Word doesn't know you exist?
Not as much as when I pick up my phone and it says face not recognised.
Why do you think your face isn't being recognised?
Don't know. I will generally hold my phone in good light at the correct angle, the same angle at which I held my phone when I took the original photos for security purposes.
Yeah.
And it still comes up saying face not recognised. And I just think for that brief moment, worse still, fingerprint not recognised. It's definitely mine.
That's more worrying, I think. I've been so hungover that my face hasn't been recognised. That was a scary moment.
Yeah. Do you think it's because of your eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're very small, very puffy when I'm hungover.
Yeah. It's Rorschach, isn't it? In Watchmen, his face changed. Maybe I've got fingerprints that do that.
You've got Rorschach's fingerprints?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. What a Terrible, terrible reflection.
That would not be. Although good if you're committing crimes.
Sure.
But whenever anyone talks about fingerprint recognition, it reminds me that I once heard that koala bears don't have fingerprints and therefore they'd be the perfect criminals.
Okay. Right, that is interesting, because what animals do have fingerprints?
I'd guess...
Like chimps, I suppose.
I'd guess chimps. Like the monkeys.
Gorillas.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. What's the word for them? Simians?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Well, they have to be pretty dexterous to use their mobile disco.
Yeah, simian, primate. Really pleased with myself.
You should be.
I'm going to delete the bit where I doubted myself and to sound really cool. Lovely stuff. So, welcome. Let's get started. No, you've heard the podcast. You know it started a long time ago.
Yeah, I think the best kind of podcasts are those that start with that. Not a preamble, but just very naturally fall into conversation. And then the guest had to say, "Oh, have we started?" So pretend that I've just done that. "Oh, have we started?" And you say, "Yeah,
that's right." I can't remember who it was I had on, but it's someone who often plays like a really specific character on stage. And then they were like, "Oh, have we started?" And I was like, yeah, it's too late. Like, everyone already knows who you are.
Oh, no. And what? So they were that far removed from their stage?
No, it's just a natural conversation anyway. But their persona on stage, I think they sort of intended to have that natural conversation as that character. So it's quite nice to catch them off guard.
Yeah, that's what people want, isn't
Yeah.
it?
And I think the interesting thing about that is when you have a conversation with someone and you suddenly realise, oh, they're still them. They're exactly the same like mad bastard as they are off stage. I mean, like Paul Perry would be a great example, but then I don't think at any point I ever thought that wasn't truly him.
Yeah, so I've seen Paul Perry perform a number of times and met him probably through our little circle of comedy friends locally. And yeah, he's just got that force about him at all times.
Oh,
and you know that is...
People talk about having a spark, and you can tell that like there's constantly just like a spark plug, just going off every now and then. Like he's ready, but like not in the sense where quite often if you're stuck in a car share with someone who's always on, it's different. Yeah, because he's not that guy. He's always got the spark. He's not always trying to be funny. He's just Paul Perry at all times of the day. Yeah. Is quintessential Paul Perry.
And that's such a charming thing for someone to have, for it to seem very natural that that's just their personal affectations or whatever else it happens to be. And that maybe when they're on stage that's slightly amplified, but it's not
exactly that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's very much what I try and do. And a lot of people will come up to me, and after my first few gigs, people will come up to me and say, "How'd you come up with that character?" And it's like, very much my personality, but thank you.
I imagine they very quickly realise.
Oh, it doesn't take long. Yeah. What character? What is it you're referring to? Yeah, I mean, I think this podcast is probably the most relaxed I get, becoming more Deaves than I am on stage. But then I think on stage I'm probably more Deaves than I am in real life. Yeah, I'm constantly a stronger version of myself. Stronger? Yeah. Not sure that's the word I mean. Stronger like tea. Stronger in flavour, not always a good thing. More intensely Deaves.
Yeah, just the bag is left in.
Yeah. But that is it's interesting. It's something that I try and harness. I've had a number of gigs recently where I essentially just have a breakdown on stage, and I just go sort of high pitched and frenetic, shall we say? And it's really fun. It's really, really fun just to sort of allow that to happen. Yeah. I think that's something like you see people try and do it sometimes, but like they've not had the experience. Whereas I've spent years on stage trying to work out how to be on stage.
Because it can seem quite self-destructive if you haven't already harnessed control of that room to then...
Yeah. You've got to be... That's the thing. That's the difficult thing, is being what is essentially a self-imploding, like self-deprecating version of yourself, but still be the dominant force in that room. Yeah. Because I had I don't want this podcast to be all about me, but I had a preview in Cambridge a few weeks ago, and I didn't do, I would say, 20 minutes of the show because I was it was so much fun. It was one of the most fun shows I've ever had. And at one point, it's a brag. I would say about 50% of the room were literally crying with laughter. And that's, I don't think I've had that level of people, people on separate occasions have cried with laughter. Sure, but it's a lot. It was a universal thing. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that is. And it has to be earned through you having gone through those different meals and recognising what does and doesn't work, but then build up to that.
A lot of that was interaction with the audience, and I think it'd be very, very easy in that situation to lose control and then be like, I can't get this back.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think I put myself through years of pushing it to the edge, often losing it, but just to be able to learn to keep that control. It's fun, man. I like it.
Yeah, So my exposure to having that audience interaction is much more limited than yours, and it really freaks me out anytime I try to do it.
You do a lot more improv than
me. So recently I've been hosting some improv stuff. So I've done improv comedy for over 10 years with Lee Terrell and the Brilliant Laughter Academy based in Southend, and he's given me the opportunity to host some of those shows.
So recently. Natural.
Right? And I find it so jarring to try and engage with the public, the awful public.
Terrible public, thanks for listening.
And everyone is there because they know someone that's in the show, so they should be completely on side with what's happening and respect the fact that I am a friend of whoever they've come to see, so there should be something there. But it feels like every time I try and do it, it feels super false, or I'll say something, I'm like, that's a very David Brent thing to say, rather than it seeming like funny or clever.
Yeah. I think 9 times out of 10, you can generally trust an audience that they are there to have a nice time, especially when you're doing a gig where they've paid. Because there's a lot of unpaid stand-up gigs that you'll do where people just turn up, they've not paid, and they're like, well, I'm here to have a nice time. I don't care what anyone else thinks. Which will happen at paid gigs, but then at paid gigs, they generally get kicked out.
Yeah.
Because they're ruining a lot of people's nights who've paid to have a nice time. But yeah, generally, they're there. If it's a nice sort of friendly room, which you can manipulate as an MC or a host or whatever, certainly you can direct that crowd. You can turn them against you unintentionally. We've all done it. Yeah, generally you can trust an audience to trust you. You've got to be able to prove, you've got to be worthy of their trust. But you're good enough, man.
Thanks.
Just here to compliment each other.
Yeah, that's all podcasts are, really, aren't they? Especially if it's two white men in a room.
Yeah, just telling it. Who was that talking about that earlier? Not earlier. I watched a show. I think it was a comedian called Alexander Bennett, who's a lovely guy, and I spoke to him recently in Cambridge, no less. So he's going to come on a podcast at some point, I believe. But I watched one of his shows on Next Up last night, and he was talking about going to the pub with his friends, and they just made up sort of imaginary awards of just stupid stuff from sort of their youth. And he said, but that's what people think if straight white men get together in a pub, they just start making up awards to give each other. And that's very much what we've started doing here.
Yeah, exactly that.
And that's the thing about observational comedy. It's very observational, very often. Lovely stuff. How's your tea?
It's actually very nice, thank you.
So we're both drinking, and this was I believe a Christmas present from my friend Lawrence Alshar, who he occasionally listens. So if you're listening, Lawrence, tell me that you heard this. But yeah, he bought me a big box of Whittard's tea, which is delightful. And you're having the afternoon tea, which they describe as our signature blend of black and green tea, expertly balanced with flavours of bergamot.
Yeah, I'm getting all of that.
Yeah,
definitely.
What are you getting the most?
Maybe the bergamot.
Oh yeah, because it's 70% black tea, 29% green tea.
Yeah, So
presumably 1% flavouring.
yeah, it's the 1% is really
It's
coming
really
through there.
yeah. Well, that is why it's called flavouring. Very
That is
much doing
exactly
its
it.
job. If it was
really,
100% flavouring, too much, I think. That'd be far too strong.
Yeah, that's MSG, isn't it? Basically.
Oh, I love MSG.
Yes.
Sure, we shouldn't be promoting MSG.
MSG, sponsor of the podcast.
But yeah, they are. They're paying the big bucks. They could do. They've got the money.
Yeah, imagine if they just rocked up with like a big thing of MSG for you.
Ooh,
That'd be nice.
that would be
wouldn't it?
delightful.
Also sponsored by Sax underwear.
Are you wearing sacks?
Yeah, I'm wearing my Sax
Yeah,
today.
I should have worn my sacks. Now, obviously, we both heard of that through the Off Menu podcast.
Yeah, of course.
When they had Jamie Oliver, who does he have stakes in sacks, or is he just a big fan?
I think he was just a big fan, but he's
he
not having a good week though, is he?
Is he not?
No.
What's happening?
He's petitioning the government to get rid of buy one get one free deals on what he sees as being bad foods.
I
But
see.
a lot of lower income families are reliant on those deals because they need to make their money stretch further.
This is school dinners all over again.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to have thought of that, and we're still angry about the turkey Twizzlers.
Yeah, as well we should be.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, he was talking about
he
Sax
introduced us to Sax pants, which you bought me some as a Christmas present, birthday present. No, it was Christmas.
It was a Christmas present, yeah.
And then you got some for your birthday from your wonderful girlfriend, who you forgot to bring tonight.
Yeah.
She was supposed to be here entertaining my wife.
Yeah, I know.
And
silly, really. You'd think living together that she'd be along for the ride.
Yeah,
No,
but you forgot to bring her.
Yeah, silly me. Doesn't matter, does it? I think
it just means that once we finish this, instead of me cooking everyone dinner, Emma has to cook everyone dinner, and I have to go and pick her up.
Yes, I feel bad, and I'm glad we've spoken about it because it's really cleared the air.
I'm glad we brought it up.
Yeah,
I was going to bring up her nickname for you, but I decided against it.
What, Long Schiernecker?
No.
Oh.
No, but based on the fact that because you obviously you asked if you had time to go for a wee before we started.
Yeah, of course I did.
I said you did.
Yeah.
I remember I was thinking about it because I was thinking. I think you're one of the few guests on the podcast that's seen my most recent show, and then I thought actually no, you've only seen most of it because you had to leave a number of times to go to the toilet.
That's because we spent the afternoon drinking.
You did.
Okay. You spent the afternoon watching me drink.
Yeah,
and then
I spent the afternoon writing my show.
Yeah, and then I watched bits of your show.
Yeah.
But every 15 minutes, once I'm drinking, I'm a few pints in.
Yeah.
I need to go.
So how do you
urinate.
explain? So we went on a little trip to Oxford a little while ago.
Yeah.
We had a lovely walk around, a lovely day out.
Yeah.
And you nipped off to the toilet a number of times. You'd not been drinking. What's the excuse?
I'd had a coffee at some point that day.
Oh, of course.
And the thing is,
basically, Paul's girlfriend, and I'll take this out if you don't like. If you don't want the general public to know, wants the nickname to spread around of Pissy Pants Schiernecker.
Was it pants? I thought it was just Pissy Schiernecker.
Oh, I think it may have become Pissy Pants Schiernecker. So, right, okay.
Which makes it seem like I pissed my pants. I've got control. I just need to go off.
You just need to go a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it makes sense for it to be Pissy Paul, maybe. Pissy Paul Schiernecker.
Pissy Paul's quite
I'm
good.
sure it's Pissy Pants.
Yeah.
Because at the end of an episode, a couple of episodes ago, I said that I was going to record this episode with you while we were on holiday in Cornwall. And whilst in Cornwall, we were playing pitch and putt, golf, where you ran off to a bush to have a wee.
I don't think that's unreasonable.
I mean, we weren't out for long.
We played 9 holes of pitch and putt and I needed to piss.
I think it was 10 holes, actually.
No, yeah, there's a secret special hole.
Yeah.
It's behind the last one. You just have to...
Don't do that.
No, don't do that. It was the eye contact and the finger
It's
pointing.
the eye contact and the finger.
So what I think would be hilarious, and I say this with gallows humour, is if I found out I had like prostate cancer or something, and I was like, that's why I need to piss all the time, and you all felt terrible for it. As far as I know, I don't.
Yeah, but fingers crossed.
Yeah, obviously fingers crossed. knock on wood, I won't because we're recording a podcast and that's poor form. But it would serve you all right for giving me a horrible nickname, wouldn't it?
I didn't give it to you.
No.
The woman you love and left at home gave it to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not the worst thing she calls me.
No.
No.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, rightly so. And I'm drinking English Rose.
What a seamless transition.
Almost as seamless as your plug for Laughter Academy. Yeah. Which I think I actually had this on an episode with John Long. And this is described as a village fate tea for scones and strawberry jam with delicate flavours of glorious rose. And it is delightful. And you can taste the rose, and it has got that jam. It's got quite a sort of a fruity flavour to it.
Will you be drinking that at the upcoming Jubilee parties?
Oh, I hadn't thought about that. No.
It feels like the kind of tea that you would drink.
I should bring it, really. English Rose. It's a village fete tea. And what is a Jubilee if not a village fete in a street?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, well, I say that assuming that most people are having street parties for the Jubilee.
Yeah, I'd imagine it feels like an occasion to have a street party.
Are you having a street party on your street?
I imagine my street are having a street party. I don't know if the two best people, the two best households living on the street will get an invite.
Suddenly remembered that a previous guest from the podcast.
No, I actually thought of them. I'd forgotten my partner.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, as is the theme for the day.
If she ever listened to a podcast that I recommended to her, then she would really laugh at that.
Yeah, but she won't, will she? Yeah, we both know that. Won't. Oh, for crying out loud, I'm gonna have to bleep that as well. She won't listen to this either. She can hear it, to be fair.
Yeah.
She's probably gonna text me now and say stop talking about me.
Yeah. Knock on the wall if you can hear us.
I mean, don't whisper while you say it.
I don't want her to hear. I'm scared.
She will come. She will beat us.
She's very pregnant.
That's not a secret. I mean, I announced it on the podcast in January that she was pregnant. So at this point, even if she was only pregnant in January, she's at least 5 months. Well, nearly 6 months.
Yeah, she's doing well.
Yeah, and let's face it, she's more pregnant than that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a secret that I've had to keep for a long time.
Right, it's not been a secret for that long. It's been public for quite a while. Have you been keeping it secret?
Yeah, I was going to announce it on the podcast.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, her name is going to be...
Oh, that secret.
I wouldn't dare.
Oh, that is a secret. Dare. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Yeah.
I wouldn't dare. Yeah. But I am honoured.
I'll let that slip.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd even been drinking at that point. No, I think I had.
Maybe we
had a cider in hand.
Yeah. Si and I don't think we've discussed the fact that we went away to Cornwall.
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think you said Cornwall specifically.
You did a wee. That's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we drank...
Nice to know, paying attention.
A lot... sorry, who are you? We drank a lot of Rattler.
Where's your girlfriend?
Yeah. We drank a lot of Rattler, which is Cornish. Right?
Yeah, it is. Yes, it's called Cornish Rattler.
Yeah, it's the cider, right?
Yeah.
When in Cornwall.
I would say. Well, yeah. Yeah, I would say, definitely.
I haven't stopped thinking about that since we came back. It's so
good.
Have
you had it before?
I think I'd had it before. They sell it in the Alex, don't they? Or they used to?
They used to, yeah.
Yeah, so I would have drunk it back then. It's one of those things...
They briefly sold it nationally in Wetherspoons. And I drank it the night before my sister's wedding and ruined my sister's wedding for myself.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Did not feel good.
That's better than ruining your sister's wedding for your sister.
Yeah.
Because that was my concern. When my brother got married, I was like, this is going to be difficult, but don't make it about you, Paul.
Yeah, because most things are... I mean, you made today so much about you that you left your partner at home.
Yeah. I did. Look, if I wanted her here...
She'd be here. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Like a social assassin.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, if you wanted her dead, she'd be dead. She is.
She's not dead.
Socially, she is.
If she's dead, who's responding to her tweets and stuff?
What?
Does
that mean anything?
You know, when if I was to kill her, I'd I'd keep
What's
up.
going on?
I'd keep up the pretense by using her phone to keep responding to people.
Is that why she's not here?
Yeah, that's why.
Okay. Well, someone call the police. We've got a crime on our hands. So you've brought books out before, right?
Yeah, I have. Thanks for bringing it back on
That's
track.
okay, yeah.
So I've been
self-published.
Yeah, so I've always written. When I was a kid, I can remember sitting in my room and like with the first word processor that we had on our old home computer. I can remember sitting and
It's a typewriter, wasn't it?
I'm younger than you, so
you look older.
Thanks. It's
sure.
Yeah, but you've got a boyish charm about you that not all of us are fortunate enough to have.
Sure.
Especially as I hit my mid-30s. So yeah, I'd sit at the word processor and type out stories, and then I guess some of that got swept aside by the expectation that you have to do something else, like having any kind of creativity in you is shunned when you're in secondary school or in college or whatever else it happens to be. So I studied English at A level, and I can remember my tutor telling me that I should be studying it at degree level, and I think she even said that I should be a writer or that I should be definitely doing something with English, and I didn't. I went and studied law, and it was
you?
I'm sure you give that reaction every time I mention it. So then I studied law.
Did you?
I scraped a degree, and it was only then when I started working that
a degree in what, sorry?
In law.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. And it was only when I graduated and I started working, I was like, right, I can now go back to the thing that I enjoy doing. And one of the first things that I did was I co-wrote a film with two of my friends, Ben Lewis and Luke Bridger, who you know?
I certainly know Luke.
You know Bridger, yeah. Ben and I wrote the Starlin musical together.
Of course.
So that's Ben. And so we wrote this film together, and then ever since then I've just written with the intention that something would come of it, I guess, but just trying to churn stuff through and develop a writing style from it. And 10 years ago I wrote the first full novel, which I'd love to look back at now. I can't imagine it'd be very good, but I guess that's the...
Do you have it?
Yeah, I could probably source it out somewhere. I've like changed several laptops over in that time, but I think it's probably on a file somewhere.
Is it in print anywhere?
Not that I printed it, but okay. I know I like emailed it round to a few friends and stuff, so it might be in a chain of emails. And I sent that off to agents, and at that time you had to send stuff in the post, so you'd have to post up.
You posted a Word document.
So
it's in print somewhere. Well, they shredded it, haven't they?
Well, what happens is you send the first 3 chapters. It used to be a full manuscript, like back in the day, but they then changed that because people were sending like 300-page manuscripts in the post, and they were like, "This is ridiculous."
They were sending it attached to their typewriters, weren't they?
Yeah. So I'd send off the first 3 chapters, which is 30 pages probably, A4, and a synopsis and a cover letter. And you send a self-addressed envelope with that, and then when they don't like your manuscript, they send you that back. So I'd get all of these envelopes back in the post that I'd written to myself because it's your handwriting on the envelope, and then it's got your unwanted manuscript in it, and then a photocopied note from an agent saying thanks but no thanks. And I did that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then was like, I'm going to try the E.L. James approach and self-publish or independently publish. And there was a subsidiary of Amazon called Create Space who help farm that process through.
Okay.
So through Create Space, and they're available on Amazon now. No other good booksellers will have them. And there are 5 books that are up there. So I wrote a book of short stories called Where Did All the Money Go, which is about university. And then I wrote a novel called The Stamp Collective was the first one. I then wrote 2 travel journals, Yalla and I've Got a Soul, and then a sequel called The Stamp Brotherhood. So they're all available online. And while I've been doing that, I've also continuously, like at least once a year, I've been sending stuff off to agents. And at some point
Is it the first book again?
Yeah. Every year I just send that off.
Just see if it's any better.
Yeah, it's them. Their tastes need to catch up with my style.
They need to.
I'd
write. To appreciate
I've written at least a book a year for the last 10 years, and they're just all like sat.
I've read one book every 2 years, I would say.
Yeah, we have an ongoing joke, don't we, about your reading of Perfect Sounds. James A. Cass's book.
Yeah. When did I start that? Before lockdown.
Wow.
No. I don't think that's correct. It could be.
Yeah,
I've been reading it for a long time.
Yeah,
I'm a slow reader.
I know you are. That's oddly charming.
I don't have the attention span.
I know. So I'm not expecting you to read this one. And
thank Christ.
So at some point agents change their process, so you can then email the first 3 chapters and a synopsis. And then at the start of the pandemic, I wrote this book, The Counterfeiter of Auschwitz, and I sent it off to agents in September of 2020. And for the first time ever, an agent got back to me like 2 days after I submitted and asked if they could read the full manuscript, which is amazing.
Incredible stuff.
I cried because it was. I felt like I'd done, like the 10,000 hours thing. I was like, I'll probably hit that by this point. So I sent them the full manuscript, and 2 days later they rejected it and was like, the rest of the book isn't as good as those first 3 chapters. Very good reason for that. I'd spent ages honing the first 3 chapters, and I had not edited to the same level the rest of the book. So using the fact that an agent had asked for a full manuscript, I was then able to message all of the agents that I'd sent it to and say, another agent has asked for the full manuscript, would you be interested in reading it? And maybe like 5 of them got back to me, and having read the first 3, and said they wanted to read the full. And I had some really nice feedback from it, and it kind of calmed down a little towards Christmas. And then one of the last agents who I hadn't heard back from messaged me just before Christmas and said that he was interested in it, and was I still looking for representation. And we've been working on it together since, which is really cool. I'm signed to him now, so I've got an agent, which is
congratulations.
Thank you. It's a lovely development to have.
Yeah,
it was one of those like high watermarks for where like my journey, and it was something that I'd wanted for a long time. And I was like, right, if I get to that point, that'll be it, and then I'll be satisfied.
Yeah.
And as you know, because I know you've hit targets in your comedy career as well. You hit that thing, and then you're like, right, okay, what happens next?
Yeah.
And there's a story. I think I've heard it second or third hand. There's a story that Dax Shepard tells on the Armchair Expert podcast.
Is it sit in the chair?
Oh my god, that's it! Thank God. There's a story that Dax tells on his podcast about when Matt Damon won the Oscar for Good Will Hunting, and he's got this Oscar in his hand. He's like in shock. He can't believe that this is the highest accolade that you can get as an actor. And he takes the Oscar, and he's at this party, and he's just like carrying it around. And he goes into the toilet, and he puts the Oscar on the side, and he takes a piss, and he's like, "I've got an Oscar, but I still have to piss." And I think that's a really important thing to remember, like especially as me, pissing pants Schiernecker. Like more than anyone, more than Matt Damon, I need a piss.
Yeah.
So despite all of those goals that you might hit, you've still got to live in your body and still got to be the person that you are. So all of that stuff is a lovely metric of where you've got to, but then falls away to pissing and pooping.
Everything does, in my life at least.
Yeah, a lot of your comedy.
So much pooping. Oh yeah, there's a surprising amount of pooping.
Do you still do the story about when you came rush time? In your full levers.
Yeah,
I don't want to say too much of it.
It's in the show. Yeah, which you've seen.
Good. Yeah. I went to the toilet for that bit.
Did you miss that bit?
No, I heard that bit. I just wondered because I know.
Obviously, I know you just asked about it.
Yeah, I know
that makes sense.
Because it's an hour-long show. I know that these things change and develop. Because that was like the first preview screening,
first ever, yeah,
which was really cool. I was really pleased that you asked me to do that. There's little in the same way that winning an Oscar will be a nice moment. There's little key markers along our friendship that I really appreciate as well. And it felt like when you asked me to come and watch your preview, that was a nice little metric.
Oh, lovely. Well, are you going to come and see it in Camden?
No.
Oh. Yeah, I won't be doing the show in Camden. I'll be reading your book.
What dates are you at Aces and Eights?
That's the 25th and the 27th of August.
The 25th and the 27th of August, you say?
Yes, that is a Thursday and a Friday. Saturday. Oh dear, that wouldn't make sense, would it? That's a Thursday and a Saturday. At the end of August.
Look, I'm putting it in my diary right now.
Yeah, well, you're coming to both shows.
It's a really cool venue.
It's a really cool venue. Have you been there before?
I have, yeah. I saw Pope Lonergan there.
Yeah.
Quite early on in his stand-up career, and my friend Mike Wheeler was on the same bill as well.
Oh yeah, lovely, yeah.
And
they sort of came up together.
Yeah, and they were both amazing. Like I have this.
Mike was great.
Yeah.
He stopped stand-up now, but
he's doing more writing stuff.
Yeah,
and that seems to be going well. I just feel very fortunate that I have this wonderful collection of. It sounds like really wanky and bohemian. There's this wonderful collection of like artists and writers and musicians and comedians that are in my immediate friendship group.
It's a lovely, lovely community.
Yeah, it's all very Southend centric as well, and I think there's something. Maybe it's. I was going to quote Morrissey, but I don't agree with the things that he's said or done recently.
Yeah,
it's the seaside town that they forgot to close down. I think that's from an era of Morrissey where it's okay to quote Morrissey, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, let's face it. Deep down, he's always been the same person, but.
Oh yeah, but before
we knew.
Yeah, before we
knew.
Does
that make it okay? Like, was Savile in the 90s okay because we didn't know?
That's not the same thing. That is absolutely not the same thing. You're telling me that if...
Just trying to catch you up.
Yeah, I know you were. Imagine if I just went, oh yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get cancelled on this podcast, I refuse. So... Yeah, being from Southend, I do feel like there's this wonderful network of people.
Yeah.
And there was like a weird instance. I alongside being a writer, I have an ordinary everyday job that I do that I also very much enjoy. And I was in the office, so this was pre-COVID, and someone was talking about comedy, or I think they were trying to arrange a night to go to like Jongleurs or Comedy Store or something like that. And they were talking about that, and I said in context, I was like, well, all the comedians that I know are this way inclined about whatever the subject matter was. And someone scoffed and was like, how many comedians do you know? And I was like, I could not count. It's so many.
Yeah.
There are so many people locally who I feel so fortunate to be friends with. And then when I get to see them perform as well, there's just something so magnetic about that at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's a really lovely thing. Like I came to the Alex on Sunday night because I looked through the bill. So this is Ross McGrane's Little Smash, which is it's a free to enter comedy show. It's been running for 9 years at the Alex in Southend.
Yeah.
And every week he has 6, 7, 8, 9 comics, like newbies and people on the circuit who are trying out new material, and it's fantastic. And I looked through the bill for Sunday night.
You get paid by these local...
That's Saks Underwear and MSG. And I looked through the bill and I was like, half of this group of people are friends of mine, and I'd love to be able to go and watch them and support. And then, in addition to that, is Will Hitt was on the bill, who
He's great. He's brilliant.
I'm a big fan of. I've not spoken to him yet, but there's something so dry and so fragile about his comedy.
I'd love to get him on a podcast, but I can't imagine what a prolonged conversation would be like with him.
Because he'd outsmart you.
I mean, that's not what I was thinking. But
he strikes me as being very eloquent and very intelligent.
Yeah.
But it could just be that he's putting everything into that 10 minutes. And that could be everything.
Well, I've spoken to him off stage because I've gigged with him a number of times.
Right.
And he's the same person. That continues. And I don't know if... Because there's a legendary comedian from... and I'll call him a comedian, sure. From... everyone's era. From he just does sort of open mic stuff. I don't know if he's still going. He moved to Birmingham, I believe.
Right.
Called Dangerous T. Who, if any comedians are listening to this, everyone knows Dangerous T.
Yep.
just the most bizarre human being. And there was a theory going around. So he used to be. There's a video of him, and he was like a backing dancer for like some big pop act, and like, he was doing breakdancing and all sorts. And everyone knows him from the comedy scene for being sort of very slow moving, very slow talking, everything. And he walks around with. He's always got these headphones on, and he's got a crutch. And like he just sort of limps onto the stage, and he'll do his stuff, and sort of leaning on this crutch, like chatting away. And a very funny man, bizarre human being, but a lovely bloke. And there's a theory about him. Someone once said that they're sure they saw him just get on a bus, just walk around. But like you talk to him off stage, and he's the same. He talks really slowly, and he's got his crutch, and he's sort of limping around. You see him on his way to gigs, and he's limping. And someone reckons that when you see him and he's not gigging, he just walks normally.
This reminds me of The Prestige. Have you seen The Prestige?
I don't believe I have.
Okay, this would be a huge spoiler. There's just an element of that. If people know The Prestige, and I mentioned the fishbowl, they'll know.
You're not thinking of Usual Suspects, are you?
Is there? I don't know. I think I've only seen Usual Suspects once, and I was so stoned, so stoned. This was how long ago it was. I was smoking solid.
Oh,
yeah.
Good grief.
So it was a dark time. I was in a bedsit or a flat. Let's not get into that. So Will Hitt is
Kaiser Soze in Usual Suspects.
Will Hitt is Kaiser Soze.
Kevin Spacey.
Yeah.
Before we knew.
Yeah. And does that make it okay?
No. Well, no. I don't know why I hesitated. I'm going to remove that hesitation. Very much so. Leave a gap. Obviously, horrendous man, as we know now. He at the end, like he walks around with a limp the whole time.
Right. Okay. I thought
it's what the end of Scary Movie was based on.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. I knew that. I thought that there was something between Kaiser Soze and a fishbowl that I'd forgotten. Because out of my box.
Wasn't there a fish at the end? Like in a
there might have been.
I don't know.
The greatest.
That might
the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world the fish didn't exist.
Yeah, convincing the world the fish didn't need a bowl.
Oh, I've got a fun story on that, but I want to tell you how much I enjoy Will Hitt's comedy before we get sidetracked into something else.
Oh yeah, you should have brought this up earlier.
You should call this podcast Sidetracked. Huh? You can have that.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
So... yeah, Will Hitt was one of the comedians on the bill who I don't know, but I very much enjoy his comedy and his sense of humour and his styling and his delivery, and it's self-deprecating and wonderful and eloquent and beautiful, and he seems so just bereft in his skin. It's wonderful to watch. So the story about the fish. My brother, the youngest, when he was... This is actually borderline psychopathic behaviour, isn't it? Like cruelty to animals, bedwetting. Oh no, I'm in there. What's the third? There's a third one, isn't there?
Killing your friends? Don't know.
Yeah, that'd do
Yeah,
it.
killing family members.
So my
Fancy your
brother,
mum?
when he was... Ooh, no. That's Oedipal, isn't it? I don't know if that's psychopathic.
Don't know. I mean, Psycho, famously in love with his mum, Norman Bates.
That's true, yeah. He
Yeah.
was a psychopath.
He was.
Childhood... Oh, head injury. That's the third one.
Head injury.
Anyway, when my brother was little, he
Hit his head.
didn't... He hit his head, pissed his pants.
And then fucked his mum.
Oh my god! What a Thursday that was. He was like really young, probably not even in primary school. So like,
Yeah.
we'll say he's 4 because it seems fairly innocuous.
Sure.
And me and my other brothers, there's me, Rob, and Ed, and Ed's the youngest. And shout out because I send him podcasts all the time that he'll never listen to. And Ed, me and Rob had pet goldfish, and Ed thought that the goldfish were cold, so he took Rob's goldfish from the fish tank and poured boiling water on it.
To warm it up. Did he know he was killing it? Because that's
No.
not necessarily
No, he
psychopathic so much as it is a sort of a Lenny sort of
Yeah,
situation.
it does. And weirdly, Rob's the
He loved it too much.
Rob's the Lenny of our group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for a second there, you were telling a story that I was not sure I was going to be able to leave in the podcast.
What did you think he was going to do with it?
Eat it? I don't know.
Is eating it worse or better?
Is it alive?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's move on.
Let's.
Yeah. Really swiftly. You drink tea?
Yep.
Yeah. What's your go-to tea?
This is probably going to upset some proper tea people. I like a Yorkshire tea.
So far, so good.
Yep. Bag in first.
Oh no, where's this going?
Then hot water. Leave it for 6 minutes.
6 minutes?
Yep. Take the tea bag out. Oat milk.
Yeah, because you're a vegan.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to bring it up. But yeah. And if I'm feeling particularly spicy, I'll put some sugar in there as well, maybe a teaspoon of sugar. I've also, I think you might have got me into their biscuit tea, which is also very good. And that feels like it's so good. You shouldn't be allowed to have it unless it's bedtime.
Yeah,
it's very like mealy.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, it should be an occasional treat, but it absolutely does not have to be.
Yeah, Yorkshire tea is the premium tea, I would say.
Yeah,
and I will fight anyone who says otherwise.
Smuggler's Brew.
Oh, Smuggler's Brew, damn it.
Which I introduced you to.
Yeah, you did.
Cornwall.
It feels like so much of our friendship is tea-based, but that's just because you are a habitual tea drinker.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a problem.
On long journeys, one of mine and my partner's favourite things to do is to get coffee before the journey, and then if needed during the journey, and then at the end we reward ourselves with coffee. But any time we've stopped in the service station with you, I know you're going to get a tea.
Of course I'm going to get a tea.
And there's something very charming about that.
Yeah, I'm quite charming.
Yeah. I've complimented you a lot, haven't I?
You have. It's been really lovely. I mean, should I repay the favour? Not sure. Very bold.
Thank you so much.
You're a handsome fellow and a great writer.
Why was that the hardest one for you
Because
to say?
I just read a question that really amused me in reference to the conversation we're having, which is a question I'll ask you in a minute. And when I ask it, you'll understand why that was so funny. But I do mean it. You are a great writer, and you deserve every success that you have.
Aww.
Do you like to dunk a biscuit?
Yes, I do, and I believe that certain biscuits are designed to be dunked.
Go on.
Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, what a great. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, of course you are. So the only way to salvage the taste of a rich tea or a digestive is to dip it in a cup of tea. Otherwise, they're completely unpalatable.
Like non-chocolate.
Yeah, non-chocolate.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Chocolate.
I was about to have a really
caramel and
what you were
chocolate.
saying there. Yeah,
absolutely. And if you do a quick dunk with them, so you just get a little of the melted chocolate on there, they can be improved by dipping in a cup of tea. A hobnob is the only biscuit. This is like what's his name? The garlic bread man. This is his bit, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. He does a bit about hobnobs.
It could be his bit. He may have stolen it.
Yeah, he does a bit about hobnobs, doesn't he? About how they're like, dunk me again.
Maybe.
Is that his bit? It feels like him or Michael McIntyre. Someone so broad.
Sounds like a Peter Kay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A hobnob can take a real... They're like the...
Oh, they're hardy. They're like the Bounty.
The Green Berets.
Is it Bounty?
The strongest soaker upper.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
One sheet
Sponsor
does
of the pod.
Oh, it's Plenty.
Plenty.
Is that what it's called?
I think Plenty does it as well.
One sheet does Plenty. That one.
Yeah. One sheet.
One sheet.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
There's also... Do you remember Burley from the Simpsons episode?
Oh. I feel like I do.
Yeah, Marge becomes obsessed with Burley. It's got like a big lumberjack man on the side of the packaging.
Yeah.
And I think at one point she drains a lake using some rolls of Burley.
Yeah, sounds like a Simpsons thing, yeah.
So that's my favourite tea.
Biscuit.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hobnob.
We went I think hobnobs.
The Plenty of the Burley biscuit.
Yeah. I've also at the moment we've got some coconut rings, and they're pretty good in a cup of tea.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought it.
No. Interesting.
I'm also...
But then you've got oat milk in there, so you're mixing those.
Yeah.
You're essentially making a macaroon.
Yeah. That's what I'm going for. And then I don't know how other people feel about this. So I remember I've never had a Tim Tam. Are you familiar with Tim Tams?
Oh yeah, are they like the finger?
Yeah, I think so.
Like a soft finger.
It's like an it's an Australian chocolate biscuit, I think. And I remember seeing something at some point. You've really...
Oh God.
Oh, does it recognise your thumbprint?
Yeah,
good. You're not a koala yet.
No.
So Tim Tam, you're supposed to bite off the corner of each side, and then you suck your teeth through it.
Oh, like a penguin.
Yeah. So I've started doing that with anything. A Kit Kat will do it. A penguin will do it.
I was introduced to that concept on this very podcast by Josh Norris, who suggested I do it. But I was drinking a mint tea at the time. Realised I had a mint penguin in the cupboard. It was wonderful. Because you put it in your mouth and the whole inside of it just melts.
Yeah,
it's just liquid. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the T1000.
Sure. I mean, that works on 2 levels, and I appreciate that, but...
what I really like...
You look undeservedly pleased with yourself.
When I make a joke and someone doesn't laugh, but they tell me that they appreciate it, that's the goal. That's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah. That's what I do in my stand-up.
Mm-hmm.
Just a room full of people saying, I appreciate you. Right. Here's what I was laughing about, because I read this while saying that you're a really good writer. What's the best lie you've ever been told?
The best lie I've ever been told?
Yeah, so for instance, I used to know a guy who told me that he had a new job, and he genuinely told me this. He had a new job, and his job was to operate a heligun that was attached to the back of a truck that was transporting 2 cars that were each worth £5 million, and it was his job to shoot anybody who tried to steal them. And he was a grown adult at this point. I've got to point that out.
That's incredible.
It's insane.
Yeah. I don't know if I've got anything that's on that level. There's a league of things in Schiernecker law that it turns out are all just brilliant liars.
Oh, okay, right.
So, buckle in. When we were kids, anything weird that my granddad did, who's Dutch, that's where my surname comes from, anything weird that he did, my dad would pass it off by saying it was a Dutch thing. So he used to eat everything in a sandwich. So any time you gave him a meal, you had to give him 2 slices of bread, and he would make a sandwich of whatever he was eating.
Anything.
And then
did he ever make a lasagna sandwich?
I don't think I ever saw him eat. So a lot of the time, he'd come over on a Sunday. He'd bring some grapes and a bottle of M&S alcohol-free sparkling wine called Moscato Fizz, which me and my brothers used to drink and think that we were getting pissed. And then he'd walk around the house farting until dinner time. And he would make a sandwich of an entire roast dinner. And then he'd eat it with a knife and fork. And my dad would just go, it's a Dutch thing. They eat sandwiches with knives and forks.
That's
and we just need to respect that. And then sadly he passed away when I was in my 20s. So I felt quite fortunate that we'd had a relationship. He didn't pass when I was a baby or anything. So I knew him as an adult, and he kind of seen me develop. And then after he passed away, I mentioned that, I think, when I was in Amsterdam, or to some Dutch people that I'd met.
Right.
And they were like, I'm sorry, what?
What a time to find it out.
Yeah. And then also in that same vein, when I was 12 years old, my dad was like, well, you're 12 teen now. I said, I'm sorry, what? He was like, in Dutch culture, when you turn 12, you're a teenager. So they say 12 teen. But he'd do it with a bad Dutch accent. And he'd be like, 12 teen.
Amazing.
And he was told that by my nan, who was English but lived in Holland and that's where she met my granddad. And then eventually returned to the UK once I'd had my uncle and had my dad here. And so she was really into Dutch culture, and she spoke fluent Dutch, like better than my granddad did, who grew up there. And so she was the one that had told him when he reached 12 that he was 12, that he'd become a teenager. And she passed away before this point.
Right.
And when my granddad came over, some point, like my 12th birthday-ish, my dad was like, hey, Paul's 12 now, isn't he? And my granddad was like, what? And my dad said, 12, like in Holland, when you turn 12, you're a teenager, aren't you? And my granddad was like, we told you that because you were jealous of your older brother, that he'd become a teenager, so we told you that you were a teenager.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, so that lie existed for 30 years.
That is a wonderful lie. Love it. That's great. Right, I've got one more question that we're going to finish off on.
Okay.
And it's a brand new one.
Ooh.
This is, what's the best thing you've ever seen someone get unexpectedly excited about? Now, my example here is when we were in Cornwall and we saw that group of reprobates walking along, and I thought they were going to start kicking off, and then they saw a car where someone had just put the windscreen wipers up. A standard prank. And they saw that, and the group of them just went, oh God, look at that, it's amazing, oh my God, look at that over there, oh my God, they put those window wipers up. And it was incredible, and they were so happy about it. I loved it.
That is wonderful.
Yeah.
I can't say this is the best example of that, but it's the first one that comes to mind. I was working with this guy, my friend Darren, and he invited me to his then girlfriend's birthday. I'd met her a couple of times, and it turned out that he'd invited me because all of her friends were awful, and he wanted someone normal, someone grounded, someone with incredible talent and an ability to help out with some party prep. And here I am. So we went over to her someone in her family had like this amazing house in Islington. So we went over there and were like prepping for this party. And he put me in charge of cheese and pineapple. And all I had to do was like cut up squares of cheese, cut pineapple, put it on sticks, and then lay it out on a tray. And at one point...
Thank you for the explanation of how cheese and pineapple...
People might have assumed that I was making a hedgehog. That would have been my first choice.
Oh.
But Darren's American, so I don't think he was familiar with that.
Teach him.
Yeah, that was on me. I'm seeing him for his birthday in a couple of weeks.
Make it.
Yeah, I might make him a cheese and pineapple.
Is this still with... This
No.
Okay, good.
I'm laying out the cheese and pineapple on the tray, and I realise that there is more cheese than there is pineapple. So I'm like, the obvious thing is to double up on the cheese, right?
Yeah.
So some of them, and they're secreted about the place, but some of them have got 2 lots of cheese on them. But they're all on the tray together. You can't really tell because pineapple's yellow. It's a mild cheddar. That's how boring she was as a person. On this tray together, I help out with some other bits and pieces. The party starts. People are like helping themselves to food. They're like, this is the best cheese and pineapple I've ever had in my life. Oh my God. And then someone picked one up and they're like, this has got 2 cheeses on it. And Darren came over to me and he's like, Paul, did you double cheese? He's American. Did I say he's American?
You did, yeah.
This is a very good impression of him.
Okay.
Paul, did you double cheese? I said, yeah. There was more cheese than there was pineapple. So I double cheesed. And he laughed so much at that and calls me double cheese to this day.
Oh, that is wonderful.
Yeah. Or DC for short.
Double cheese.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh, that is a wonderful thing to get excited about.
Yeah.
It's calling me double cheese. Lovely.
Yeah.
Right. I realised that it nearly came up earlier about Tim Rock Bellhop, but it's too late now.
Oh, it's too late.
Yeah, one of the best characters to have ever been created.
By anyone or by me?
By you.
Okay.
Yeah. Good.
That's fair.
It's up there. Top 100 of all time.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Is Verbal Kint up there?
Pardon?
Verbal Kint. From The Usual Suspects. It was a callback.
So thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me,
It's been
Si.
a real pleasure.
This has been really lovely.
Got anything to plug?
I could sit and talk to you all day.
Yeah.
And I tend to.
Yeah, you often do.
Stuff I can plug. My books are on Amazon.
Yeah.
And my blog, paulschiernecker.com, is updated weekly.
And what's the trick for getting people to know how to spell your surname?
An old next door neighbour used to have a rhyme for it. I don't know if that will help people.
Go on. I mean, it's going to be written down in the podcast description anyway.
I think it was. So this was a neighbour that I lived next to until I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. So my memory of this isn't great.
Yeah.
But she'd go SCHIERNECKER, and that somehow helped her get it. I'm like, is that right?
Is that a rhyme?
All right, not a rhyme. What do you want me to do? Like, S is for Schiernecker, C is for Schiernecker, H is for Schiernecker. Is that what you want?
That would be an acrostic. Also not a rhyme.
The worst acrostic.
Yeah.
I'm going to write you a rhyme. I'm going to write you a Schiernecker rap. Would you like that?
No.
Okay.
Sort of would, actually.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you write one, record it, I'll slap it on the end of the podcast.
Okay, cool. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. Where I normally play the thing. Yeah, at the end. I'll replace that with...
That's really good, by the way. I know we've spoken about it before.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Really pleased with that. That's Mike Darragh, who goes by Darragh Sounds. He's on Fiverr. He's a friend of mine, and I was one of his early clients. Very good. Very worth the money. Cheap, and a quick turnaround. So, yeah, great stuff. Good. There's my plugs. Go on, your plugs, your books are on Amazon?
My books are on Amazon. I'm on all of the social media platforms that you can find. If you can spell my surname, you can probably find my social media. It's all under Paul Schiernecker or under Schiernecker, etc.
Yeah.
And hopefully I'll have a book available in actual shops at some point in the future.
Yeah.
That's the goal,
Do
isn't
you
it?
have any idea on a timeline?
It's hard to say. So me and this agent are working together on it at the moment.
Yeah.
And then hopefully a publisher will pick it up, and then Netflix or HBO will make a series of it. And then I can go to LA and do some podcasts with proper people.
Wow. What a piece of shit. That'd be a really good place to just cut off.
Yeah, I know. But I can't do that to you, can I?
What a piece of Yeah, thanks for coming on, Paul.
Thank you so much.
It's late now. Let's go.
Yeah.
Get your girlfriend. Go and pick her up so that we can eat dinner.
Yeah, we better.
I mean, you are a piece of shit, aren't you? Oh, lovely stuff. Thanks, Paul. Thanks to everyone for listening. Bye. Say bye.
Bye. S is for Schiernecker, aka the future home wrecker. C is for the care I give to warm you like Ready Brecker. And H is on my helipad while you're riding on my chopper. I is for me actually, and the beats I like to drop. E is for the energy I'm bringing to my verses. And R is what the pirates shout while the harpies sing their curses. N is for the Neverlands written in my history. E is for electricity I generate mysteriously. C is for the contacts I may tread in old ground. And K is for kilometers I cover with no sound. E is for efficiency, I'm dropping all the rhymes. And R is for the are you sure you've caught it all this time? So take the time to hear it out, my never-ending story. You're spelling out my surname, my Schiernecker Bocker glory.
So that was Paul Schiernecker. I think I'm putting the rap in before. If not, it's after this. I think I'm going to put it in before. It's amazing. I love that. It just knocked that out in a day. Wonderful. Very happy with that. So yeah, you can go and check Paul out. It's just Paul Schiernecker on stuff, and Schiernecker etc, as he says. links to that will go up. Find my links, as I say, linktr.ee/Sideeves, my Linktree Sideeves. And if you listen to this week, then on Saturday, that is Saturday the 22nd of April, I will be back at Cambridge Fringe, which I referenced during the episode, where when I did Cyclops there, it was one of the best shows I've ever done, ever, and I loved it so much. So I'm back this year doing my new show, Best Thing Ever. So if you hear this, it's going to be 6 p.m. at Thursday, same venue as that last year in Cambridge, and it's going to be a wonderful show. If not, I'm doing Hastings Fringe in June. I'm going to be doing Cyclops at Brighton Fringe in May, and that's going to be great. That's going to be, just before I record the show, hopefully. And I'm also doing Best Thing Ever. It's in a few places, but yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be great. Just go and find tickets for that, either from my website or from my Linktree, linktr.ee/Sideeves. In the meantime, thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for coming back. It's really wonderful to be able to do these podcasts again. It's just nice to be able to do it. Thank you for listening. I hope you have a lovely day and drink a lovely tea. I love you.